Hi, I'm Michael Norris, Executive Director at Carpenters Hall. Carpenters Hall. It was considered sort of politically neutral, whereas the State House, what we now call Independence Hall, was really the home of British colonial government. So why would you meet there if you're, mad at them, right? The Continental Congress met here in 1774 and did something that hadn't happened yet, which was the colonies formed a coalition. They united in a way that was new. Many of them were in their early 30s. That sort of youthful energy, they felt that themselves, and often sort of contrasted that to not just the age of the king himself, but sort of the age of the empire and the monarchy, feeling like something that was hundreds and hundreds of years old. Before that, the colonists were not happy with the way they were being treated. Most of that centered on what had happened in Boston. The Tea Party prompted a lot of sort of punitive laws from England on Massachusetts. It set off alarms across the rest of the colonies. They were disagreeing with each other. People had different opinions about how to deal with their grievances with England. It was really about how do we build this consensus? What can we agree upon that we can do collectively? And then how do we sort of sell that to not only the other citizens of the colonies, but to the king and to the people of Great Britain? And here at this meeting, they came to some consensus about what to do and to do it together in a unified way. So we say this is where the United in United States was born. The Continental Congress itself took place in one of two rooms that was on the first floor. What we now see as a relatively large room was actually two rooms. People would have been pretty cozy, sitting around desks, conversing. Relationship building really was another important piece of it. I mean, we think of these guys as founding fathers and that they all knew each other. Well, they didn't. They often knew of each other, but they had never met. John Adams had never left Boston until he came to Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress. It really was a who's who. George Washington, you might have heard of him, Patrick Henry, John Adams, Samuel Adams, John Dickinson, Joseph Galloway. New York had John Jay, who became first Supreme Court Justice. Two folks who were not here, for the record, were Benjamin Franklin, who was still in London at that time, and Thomas Jefferson, who became world famous for writing the Declaration, didn't show up to Philadelphia until 1775. This is important because it is the anniversary of the First Continental Congress, which took place here in our building in 1774 and really paved the way for the Revolution and the Declaration of Independence. The Young People's Continental Congress is a way for us to kind of honor the history of the First Continental Congress, but really put it in a context that feels very relevant and very contemporary. So we have high school students and teachers from the 13 original colonies here in Philadelphia for a week. And it's basically sort of a deep dive immersion in the history of the founding of our country and understanding those kind of democratic values and principles. And what do those mean today? Freedom of assembly, freedom of the press, all the things that, were foundational to how we set up the country and have many times been challenged and questioned, and obviously we've always been on a journey to make a more perfect union. So we want it to be about that original history, but we also want it to be about today.